Welcome to Audio Summary, where we bring the world's greatest books to life in quick and captivating audiobook summaries. Join us to discover the wisdom, ideas, and stories that have shaped history in bite-sized insights. All for free. Let's start.
Easy Way to Stop Smoking by Alan Carr. Introduction. I was talking to my wife about my constant struggle to quit smoking. She thought I was crazy, and understandably so, considering I've made serious attempts to quit every 2 years. The last time ended in a crying fit as I realized I would be a smoker for the rest of my life if I didn't succeed this time. But after putting out my last cigarette, I uttered a surprising phrase to her. Not only will I heal myself, but I'll also heal the rest of the world. It seems like my entire life has been a preparation to solve the smoking problem. Even my background in economics proved useful in understanding the trap of smoking. In 1983, I discovered an easy way to quit smoking that I documented in my book published in 1985. Through my method, I've helped many smokers kick the habit. While some fail, I keep receiving thanks from people all over the world. I've also successfully applied my method to addicts of other drugs. The biggest challenge is preventing ex-smokers from relapsing into their addiction. My book has been criticized for being repetitive, but repetition is necessary to combat the brainwashing that results from addiction. Though some criticisms come from medical professionals, many of them have become my staunchest supporters. In fact, one doctor told me they wished they had written the book. Chapter 1. The Worst Nicotine Addict I Have Yet to Meet. I consider myself competent to write this book because I was a heavy smoker for 33 years of my life, at times smoking up to 100 cigarettes a day on the worst days. Despite numerous attempts to quit smoking, I never succeeded. I even suffered from headaches and pressure in my forehead, yet I continued to smoke. Finally, after a hypnotherapy session, I was able to quit smoking easily and actually enjoyed the process. Now, I'm professionally dedicated to helping others quit smoking, and I've been quite successful. With my method, any smoker can quit, as long as they follow the instructions and understand that fear is what holds them back from quitting. My method is dogmatic because it has a rationale to ensure success. The only way to fail is by not following the instructions or not understanding the reasons behind them. Chapter 2. The Easy Method. My aim in writing this book is to help people quit smoking in a way that differs from the traditional method, which often leads to feelings of envy towards other smokers and a desire to return to smoking. Instead, my approach is to create a sense of euphoria and freedom from the get-go, as if you've been cured of a dreadful illness. If you're a smoker, it's important to continue smoking while reading the book, to follow the instructions and allow your urge to smoke to naturally diminish. My method is rooted in forgetting the reasons to quit smoking and instead asking questions about the true benefits of tobacco. You'll discover that there's no advantage in smoking, and the conventional reasons to quit, such as health and money, are just the tip of the iceberg. Once you realize there's nothing to gain from smoking, you'll find immense satisfaction in becoming a happy and free non-smoker. Chapter 3. Why is it difficult to stop? My interest in the topic of smoking arose from my own addiction. Although I eventually managed to quit, the process was challenging. Before that, I had attempted to quit several times and found myself stuck in a cycle of depression and constant relapses. It felt like trying to climb out of a muddy pit, always near the edge, but slipping and falling back to the bottom. The curious thing about smoking is that all smokers wish to quit, even members of the Smokers Association. No one would want to start again if they could go back in time. But why is it so difficult for us to quit? Why do people get hooked in the first place? While there are many theories about it, I believe at its core, smoking is simply a habit. A habit that makes us feel trapped, ill, and deprived of oxygen. A habit that costs us a fortune and doesn't provide any real pleasure. Once you understand the true reasons why you smoke, quitting becomes easy. In my case, it took about 3 weeks, but in the end, the feeling of liberation was almost magical. Chapter 4. The Sinister Trap. For 33 years, I fell into the trap of smoking, believing it was something I enjoyed, but it was all an illusion. I realized the cigarette had no allure, didn't taste good, and only served to hook us. Even knowing the dangers, I couldn't break free. But one day, under extraordinary circumstances, I discovered the real reason behind my smoking and how to quit easily and pleasurably. Since then, my passion and profession have revolved around seeking answers to smoking-related questions and helping others quit. Just follow my instructions to escape the maze and never fall back into it again. Chapter 5: Why do we carry on smoking? Many of us start smoking for silly reasons, like social pressure. But why do we continue once we realize we're addicted? I've posed this question to thousands of smokers in my sessions, and while their individual answers vary, the real reason is the same for everyone: they don't know why they smoke. They feel foolish, aware that they're risking their health and wasting money, but they need a rational justification. The true reasons why smokers persist in smoking are a combination of nicotine addiction, brainwashing, and subtle influences. I'll delve into these factors in detail in the following chapters. Chapter 6: Nicotine Addiction. Nicotine is the addictive compound found in cigarettes and is the fastest-acting drug known to science. Each puff delivers a small dose of nicotine to the brain, which can lead to addiction after just one cigarette. Nicotine acts swiftly but diminishes in the bloodstream within about 30 minutes. Smokers consume around 20 cigarettes daily to maintain their nicotine levels. When smokers quit, they might experience mild discomfort, known as withdrawal, which is purely psychological rather than physical. Smokers are drug addicts needing regular nicotine intake to appease the nicotine monster within them. Smoking isn't a habit, but a drug addiction. Tobacco contains many toxins, including nicotine and carbon monoxide. While most smokers start for silly reasons like social pressure, they continue to feed the nicotine monster. Smoking is an illusion that provides a false sense of pleasure and morale support. The human body is sophisticated and wired to distinguish between food and poisons, and humans find tobacco smoke repulsive, except when they become addicted. The effort to get hooked on nicotine is the most tragic aspect of the entire smoking process. Smokers teach themselves to ignore the tobacco's foul odor and taste to get their drug fix. Most smokers believe they enjoy tobacco, but in reality, they smoke anything to feed their addiction. Although nicotine is addictive, its removal from the body is rapid, and the anxiety from its withdrawal is mild. The reason many smokers find it hard to quit is brainwashing, which maintains the illusion that tobacco aids in certain aspects of life. Facing the chemical addiction is easy, even for heavy smokers, but the challenge lies in undoing the brainwashing. Quitting smoking is beneficial in many ways, and it's never too late to do so. Chapter 7: Brainwashing and the Sleeping Partner. The power of suggestion and the subconscious mind are key to understanding why we start smoking and why quitting is challenging. The subconscious is a potent force influencing our lives, capable of deceiving millions not just in matters of opinion but in concrete facts. Advertising agents are aware of this influence and use ads associating tobacco with sports, success, and images of attractive, confident individuals. Smokers, mostly strong-willed individuals juggling multiple responsibilities and facing significant stress, believe that tobacco relieves stress and boredom and see smoking as a socially acceptable habit. Nicotine, a drug costing a lot of money and claiming hundreds of thousands of lives each year, stands as the #1 deadly disease worldwide. Governments gain substantial revenue from tobacco taxes, while tobacco companies invest large sums in advertising. Erecting a defense system against this brainwashing is crucial, starting with questioning why one smokes, whether it's truly necessary, and if quitting is desired. I remember when I attempted to quit smoking cigarettes by turning to a pipe, thinking it would be less harmful and help reduce my overall consumption. Initially, pipe tobaccos were repulsive, and I experienced tongue discomfort for about 3 months. However, once I learned to handle the pipe, I realized I continued smoking due to the fear of feeling emptiness and insecurity when I stopped receiving my nicotine dose. This fear was fueled by society's brainwashing of smokers, amplified by the influence of friends, colleagues, and family. Though I've quit smoking, I still feel that sense of deprivation when I see someone smoking. Brainwashing poses a significant obstacle for those seeking to quit smoking, and we must be aware of its effects. When quitting smoking, we lose nothing but gain in health, energy, money, peace, confidence, courage, self-love, and happiness. Chapter 8. Relieving Withdrawal Pangs. In my experience, smokers believe they smoke because they enjoy it, relax, or receive stimulation, but in reality they're simply alleviating the anxiety caused by nicotine withdrawal. Initially, cigarettes are used as a social activity, but gradually the subconscious learns to associate it with pleasure, increasing the need to relieve nicotine withdrawal symptoms. Many smokers aren't aware they're addicted until they attempt to quit, and some stubbornly deny their addiction. Smokers tend to smoke in moments of stress, boredom, concentration, relaxation, or a combination of these factors. Chapter 9. Stress. Smokers often associate cigarettes with stressful moments, like answering the phone. The cigarette might seem to relieve the stress of nicotine withdrawal before picking up the phone, but in reality it increases tension and causes more suffering as dependence on the drug grows. Tobacco diminishes valor and courage, and smokers may experience panic when they fear running out of tobacco at night. In the long run, tobacco is a poison that destroys physical health and diminishes self-confidence and security. Quitting smoking brings back lost confidence and courage. Chapter 10. Boredom. The myth that cigarettes alleviate boredom is false. Tobacco doesn't distract or make you feel good. It only satisfies the nicotine craving that makes you feel unwell when not smoking. Smoking can actually heighten boredom because it induces lethargy. Instead of engaging in active pursuits, smokers tend to spend time doing nothing, simply alleviating the nicotine craving. Smoking can become an unconscious act, and smokers may not remember many of the cigarettes they've smoked throughout the day. Chapter 11. Concentration. Cigarettes don't aid in concentration. It's a deception. When trying to focus, smokers feel the discomfort of nicotine withdrawal and light a cigarette to ease the anxiety, but it doesn't enhance concentration. Over time, tobacco undermines concentration through the gradual blockage of arteries and veins, depriving the brain of oxygen with poisons. The lack of concentration experienced by smokers when attempting to quit isn't due to physical symptoms, but rather mental blocks. Smoking doesn't promote concentration. Chapter 12. Relaxation. Cigarettes don't actually help in relaxation because nicotine is a chemical stimulant that increases heart rate. Smokers might believe that the post-meal cigarette is a moment of culmination, but it's solely due to nicotine addiction. Smokers can never truly relax, and over time, their restlessness increases. Irritability and high tension are common symptoms among smokers. It's time for the smoker to escape addiction like an insect caught in a carnivorous plant. Chapter 13. Combination cigarettes. The combination cigarette is smoked for multiple reasons, including stress relief and relaxation in social situations, coping with boredom, aiding concentration, and the need to alleviate nicotine withdrawal symptoms. This leads smokers to pair cigarettes with alcohol or other drugs. It's not the cigarette that's special, but rather the occasion. Once the need to smoke is eliminated, these occasions can be enjoyed more, and stress can be reduced. Chapter 14. What am I giving up? The effect of brainwashing leads us to believe that we need tobacco and that when we stop smoking there will be a void. However, our body is a sophisticated machine with flawless alarm systems. Once you rid your body of the little monster and eliminate the brainwashing from your mind, you won't want to smoke and won't feel the need to do so. Tobacco doesn't enhance meals, it ruins them and destroys your palate and sense of smell. Also, smoking during social gatherings doesn't enhance them, it disrupts them. The greatest benefits of quitting smoking are psychological, including regaining courage and self-confidence, breaking free from enslavement, and the disappearance of the dark shadows in the back of your mind. Being a non-smoker isn't just better for your health and finances, it makes you happier, and you'll enjoy life more. Once you quit smoking, you'll see clearly that the panic sensation for a cigarette wasn't due to your weakness or any magical property of the cigarette. It feels amazing to be free. Chapter 15: Self-Imposed Slavery. Smokers often quit for health, economic, and social reasons, but the true slavery imposed by tobacco is often overlooked. Smokers fail to realize that the more they smoke, the more they yearn to be non-smokers. Only after a period of abstinence do they believe they enjoy any cigarette. The value of a cigarette becomes evident only when attempting to quit or when society prohibits it. Smokers must understand that the trend to ban smoking in public places will increase. Smokers' lives become torturous in smoke-free locations, limiting their freedom. Non-smokers enjoy life without constantly poisoning themselves. Smokers should remember that in the company of non-smokers, it's not the non-smoker depriving them of pleasure, but their own addiction. Chapter 16: I'll save X dollars a week. The main challenge in quitting smoking lies in the brainwashing process. Determined smokers who can afford it and don't mind social rejection overlook the long-term economic expense of smoking. Even if offered free cigarettes for life in exchange for an initial payment, they decline. Their reason for smoking isn't because they want to or have rationally chosen to do so, but because they believe they can't quit. Smoking becomes a lifelong chain that only breaks when they don't take that first cigarette after deciding to quit. Chapter 17: Health. In my experience as a smoker, I can say that the effects of brainwashing are very real. Even though I knew smoking was dangerous for my health, I kept deceiving myself and turning a blind eye to the risks. I even imagined what it would be like if an electronic warning told me that the next cigarette I smoked would burst the arteries in my brain. I'm sure I wouldn't have lit it up. But smokers don't want to think about the health risks because that takes away the illusion that they enjoy smoking. That's why shock tactics used on anti-tobacco days aren't effective for smokers. It's as if they close their eyes and bury their heads. Smokers also hold the false belief that the harmful effects of tobacco are exaggerated. But the reality is that tobacco is the leading cause of death in Western society. Moreover, smokers fail to see that the risk is constant and that every cigarette they smoke brings them closer to the bomb exploding. Even younger smokers don't worry about their health because they don't cough, but coughing is just a symptom, and if they don't cough, it's because their lungs are filled with cancer-causing poisons. Chapter 18: Energy. Tobacco clogs the respiratory passages and veins, depriving the body of oxygen and nutrients. The smoker becomes increasingly sluggish and less resistant to other diseases. The process is gradual, so the smoker may not notice it and might think that the lethargy is just a part of aging. This leads to avoiding exercise and indulging in excessive eating and drinking. Quitting smoking can restore the feeling of vitality and the desire to exercise. Chapter 19: It relaxes me and gives me confidence. In my personal experience, the sense of insecurity experienced by smokers is one of the worst consequences of tobacco. Many smokers don't believe that tobacco is responsible for this feeling, but after quitting smoking, I realized the significant advantages it brings. For years, I avoided getting a medical checkup and visiting hospitals, but now I enjoy life more thanks to my improved health and vitality. Chapter 20: Those Sinister Black Shadows. Quitting smoking frees the smoker from the sense of insecurity and dark shadows that lurk in their mind. Despite smokers often burying their heads regarding the harmful effects of tobacco, these shadows surface in moments like seeing a warning on a pack or feeling chest pain. Moreover, being a smoker can lead to a loss of self-respect. Chapter 21: The Advantages of Being a Smoker. End of the chapter. Chapter 22: The Willpower Method of Stopping. In my experience, quitting smoking isn't difficult at all. Often, smokers believe it's hard, but that's because they use what I call the willpower method. The smoker thinks they're making some kind of sacrifice, which makes them feel deprived. However, in reality, all you have to do is not smoke anymore. No one forces you to smoke, and you don't need it to survive. The first cigarettes we smoke are usually in the company of other smokers or in social situations, and before we know it, We're buying cigarettes regularly and smoking habitually. Most attempts to quit smoking fail because of the willpower method. If the smoker starts believing they're making a sacrifice, they'll feel deprived, especially in stressful moments when the brain triggers the mechanism that says, "Have a cigarette." So, from the moment they quit smoking, they're craving a cigarette. But now they can't because they've quit. This depresses them even more, triggering the desire again. It's also common for smokers to wait for something to happen to quit smoking, but they never know when they've reached their goal. Quitting smoking is as easy as deciding not to smoke anymore and not falling into the trap of the willpower method. Quitting smoking with willpower is hard due to the brainwashing and the persistence of craving for tobacco. Although many people succeed, they remain vulnerable to relapses and the mistaken belief that a cigarette might help in certain situations. Taste and enjoyment have nothing to do with smoking, as it's mostly unconscious. When consciously faced with the negative effects, the idea of enjoyment disappears. Once the little monster is eliminated from the body and the mind, the need to smoke vanishes. Chapter 23. Beware of cutting down. Most smokers consider reducing tobacco consumption as a way to control the monster and, in some cases, as a preliminary step before quitting altogether. However, from my experience, reducing consumption isn't the best way to start the process of quitting smoking. It's the worst method because it ties you more to nicotine and prolongs the suffering of withdrawal. I've seen many smokers who try to smoke less after a failed attempt to quit, but this only makes their situation worse. They're still hooked on nicotine and await the moment for the next cigarette. Instead of reducing consumption, the easiest thing to do is to quit completely and break the chain of addiction. Remember, if you smoke less, you'll suffer more. Chapter 24. Just one cigarette. The myth of the just one cigarette is false. Smoking one can trigger addiction and lead to failed quitting attempts. The thought of not being able to enjoy a special cigarette hinders smokers from quitting. The key to quitting smoking is understanding that there's no sacrifice involved, there's no such thing as an occasional cigarette, and any smoker can easily quit. Don't deceive yourself with the idea that tobacco provides pleasure in good or bad times. Choose a life without suffering and without tobacco. Chapter 25. Casual smokers, teenagers, non-smokers. As a smoker, I know how easy it is to envy occasional smokers. However, in a strange way, they're more addicted and suffer more than regular smokers like me. It's true they spend less money and face fewer health risks, but in other ways, they're worse off. Smoking isn't pleasurable. We only enjoy relief from nicotine withdrawal. The natural tendency in addiction is to alleviate withdrawal as much as possible by constantly smoking. 3 factors prevent us from compulsive smoking: money, health, and discipline. Most people can't afford to smoke constantly, and health risks act as a physiological deterrent. Discipline can be enforced by society, family, friends, or by ourselves as smokers. Non-smokers shouldn't congratulate themselves, as they're only non-smokers by chance. The occasional smoker is on the first step of the addiction ladder and is likely to soon become a regular smoker. There are different types of occasional smokers. Some limit themselves to 5 cigarettes a day or only smoke in the morning or at night. They punish themselves by enduring withdrawal for half the day and alleviating it for the other half. Occasional smokers who only smoke on special occasions or claim to have quit but smoke occasionally are the most pitiful. They're on a slippery slope and can only go downhill. People often think occasional smokers are happier and have more control over their habit, but they're not. Smoking is an addiction to a drug, not just a habit. The natural tendency is to alleviate the anxiety caused by nicotine withdrawal, not endure it. Even to maintain their current level of consumption, smokers must use willpower and discipline for the rest of their lives. The only way to win is to quit smoking and stop craving cigarettes. I've seen cases of smokers who only smoke 2 cigarettes a day and can't quit. They live in a constant struggle, unable to overcome their nicotine addiction. Smoking isn't pleasurable. We only think it is because of the illusion of relieving nicotine withdrawal. Occasional smokers often lie about the quantity and frequency of their consumption. There's no need to envy them. Life is better without tobacco. Curing teenagers is difficult because they don't believe they're addicted. Parents shouldn't be complacent, even if their children hate tobacco. They can be influenced and easily hooked. It's crucial to warn them about the dangers of tobacco. Chapter 26: The Secret Smoker. The secret smoker deserves a separate chapter, as the effects of smoking in secret are detrimental and can lead to the breakdown of personal relationships. Often, individuals conceal their tobacco addiction even from their loved ones, which can result in a significant loss of self-respect. It's important to recognize that smoking in secret reinforces the notion of deprivation in the smoker's mind. Chapter 27: A Social Habit? Since the 1960s, over 10 million people in the United Kingdom have quit smoking due to the social revolution. Smoking is now considered an antisocial habit, and the social pressure to smoke has vanished. Reasons to quit smoking are linked to money and health, but social acceptance of tobacco no longer exists. Smokers now seriously consider quitting, and those who smoke are seen as weak individuals. Chapter 28: Timing. As a smoker, I believe it's crucial to choose the right moment to quit smoking, even though it's evident that the best time is now. Smoking is a drug addiction and an illness that can significantly harm health, being the leading cause of death in Western society. The worst mistake I've made is getting hooked on this terrible habit, which is why it's essential to choose the right moment to start a cure. If you're a business person who smokes to reduce stress, choose a peaceful time, such as during vacations, to quit. If you smoke during periods of inactivity and boredom, do the opposite. In any case, taking it seriously and considering it the most important action in life is crucial. You must prepare for any eventuality that could lead to failure in the first 3 weeks. The belief that now isn't the right time to quit is the most subtle trap of smoking. Life is filled with stress, but most of us have eliminated much of the genuine stress from our lives. If you can't do it today, what makes you think it'll be easier tomorrow? The time to rid yourself of this illness is now or as soon as possible. Quitting smoking is difficult, but if you follow my instructions, you'll find it easy and enjoy the process. Chapter 29: Will I miss the cigarette? When you quit smoking, your body and mind feel better prepared to face life's challenges and enjoy moments of happiness. However, you must be wary of the influence of other smokers who may lure you back into the trap. Sometimes, you may feel the urge to smoke in social situations, but you must remember that smokers envy ex-smokers who have kicked the habit. Smokers are slaves to their addiction, compromising their health, vitality, finances, and freedom. Instead of envying them, you should view them as pitiful beings and have compassion for them. You don't want to be addicted to nicotine and suffer the long-term consequences. Chapter 30: Will I put on weight? The myth that quitting smoking leads to weight gain is false and often promoted by smokers attempting to quit using substitutes like food and sweets to ease anxiety. Nicotine withdrawal anxiety feels like hunger but can't be fully satisfied. Most smokers can't smoke more due to cost or health reasons. Consequently, smokers are left with an unsatisfiable hunger sensation, leading to overeating, excessive drinking, or trying other drugs. Quitting smoking restores self-confidence and the ability to make life decisions. Weight gain is a result of using substitutes during nicotine withdrawal. Chapter 31: Avoid false incentives. The use of false incentives to quit smoking is common among smokers who rely on the willpower method. However, these incentives are misleading and only heighten the sense of sacrifice and the value of tobacco in the smoker's mind. Agreements among family members or coworkers may also prove ineffective due to social pressure and interdependence within the pack's members. Incentives such as bribery or bets are also inefficient. Instead of focusing on false incentives, it's better to look at the other side of the issue and ask, how does tobacco benefit me? Why do I need to smoke? Chapter 32: The Easy Way to Stop. The key to quitting smoking is making the definitive decision to never smoke again and maintaining a positive mindset. Smoking is a subtle trap that affects smokers' mindsets. It's crucial to understand that smoking is an addiction, and there's no such thing as just one cigarette. Quitting smoking isn't giving up something, it's gaining health and quality of life. By embracing these concepts as truths, you can make the definitive decision to quit smoking without fear of failure. Maintaining a positive mindset and following the specific points that will be explained in the upcoming chapters will help you enjoy life as a non-smoker and live free from tobacco addiction. From my personal experience, I've found that the hardest part isn't the nicotine withdrawal, but the indecision and longing for the illusion that smoking creates. Quitting smoking can be easy if you commit to it and follow the right instructions. Chapter 33: The Withdrawal Period. During the next 3 weeks after quitting smoking, it's normal to experience anxiety due to nicotine withdrawal. This anxiety consists of 2 distinct factors: physical anxiety from the absence of nicotine, and psychological triggers that make you think of smoking at specific times. Failing to understand and differentiate between these factors might make it challenging to quit smoking using the willpower method, possibly leading you back into the trap of smoking again. It's crucial to understand that nicotine withdrawal doesn't cause physical pain, but can result in irritability and anxiety similar to hunger pains. While the physical nicotine anxiety fades after a few days, the habit of smoking at specific times persists, leading to occasional cravings during social situations or after meals. To overcome this mental conditioning, you must acknowledge the anxiety you feel and not underestimate its power. Consider quitting smoking as an engaging game, where you must deprive the nicotine monster of its food for 3 weeks until it fades away. Avoid getting disheartened, and don't try to suppress thoughts of tobacco. Instead, relish every moment of freedom and recall the compelling reasons you had for quitting. Never doubt your decision to quit smoking, and reinforce your determination during moments of weakness. With the right mindset, the psychological triggers prompting thoughts of smoking will diminish over time, and you won't have to battle them for the rest of your life. Remember, tobacco does nothing for you, and you don't need psychological tricks to convince yourself that you don't want to smoke. The last thing you need to do in this life is smoke. Make sure it's not the last thing you do. Chapter 34: Just One Puff. Many smokers fail when trying to quit through sheer willpower. After a few days, some end up smoking an occasional cigarette, believing it helps them without realizing the devastating effect this has on their morale. The first drag doesn't taste good, but continuing the habit fuels the tobacco monster in the mind and body. Remember, just one cigarette can rekindle the addiction. Chapter 35: Will it be harder for me? Quitting smoking is challenging, and the difficulty varies from person to person. Each individual has their own character, job, life situation, and ideal moment to quit. Doctors, facing the effects of tobacco, might experience fear, adding stress to their task. Monotonous and dull jobs, such as those of truck drivers and homemakers, can also make it challenging to break the habit. The right mindset can help overcome these challenges. Anyone can quit smoking by following all the instructions. Chapter 36: The Main Reasons for Failure. When attempting to quit smoking using the willpower method, 2 primary reasons might lead to a relapse: the influence of other smokers and having a bad day. In both cases, it's crucial to maintain a positive mindset and remember why you made the decision to quit smoking. Don't be too hard on yourself, and never doubt your decision. Remember, smokers envy those who have quit and need your compassion. Chapter 37: Substitutes. Avoid using substitutes to quit smoking, such as gums, candies, pills, or herbal cigarettes. This will only prolong the anxiety and make you feel like you need to smoke to fill the void. Remember, the anxiety is caused by nicotine, not hunger. Steer clear of nicotine gums as they prolong both the chemical and psychological addiction. You don't need a substitute to quit smoking. You just need to relish removing the poison from your body and the mental dependency. If you gain a few pounds in the first few days, don't worry. Soon, you'll gain more confidence and be able to decide how you want to manage your diet. Chapter 38. Should I avoid temptation? I've been rather dogmatic in my advice so far, and I prefer you to treat everything I say more as a set of instructions rather than advice. I'm dogmatic because there are specific and practical reasons behind what I say, derived from studying thousands of real cases. It's harder for me to be dogmatic when it comes to whether one should avoid situations where they might feel tempted or not. Each smoker will have to decide for themselves, but I can make a couple of comments that I hope will help you overcome your fears and resist temptation. Chapter 39. The Moment of Revelation. The moment of revelation usually occurs around 3 weeks after quitting smoking, but in some cases it can happen within a few days. It's a moment when you realize you don't need to smoke and experience lasting happiness. Smokers relying on willpower often don't experience this moment because they still believe they've sacrificed something. While it's essential to understand that the moment of revelation isn't an exact date, it's based on years of accumulated experience. It's crucial not to fixate on the moment of revelation and to recognize that by putting out the last cigarette, you've already cut off the nicotine supply and done all that needed to be done. Go out and enjoy life, and soon enough, you'll experience that instant. Chapter 40. The Final Cigarette. Before smoking your last cigarette, make sure to go through the essential points, concentrate on each drag, and think about how wonderful it will be not to have to do it anymore. Chapter 41. A Final Warning. While quitting smoking can be relatively easy with the help of this book, it's important to note that returning to smoking is equally easy. Therefore, it's necessary to impose an absolute rule of never trying tobacco again, and to remember that tobacco companies sell the #1 killer poison. Chapter 42. 5 years feedback. Over the past 5 years, I've gained more experience thanks to smokers who attended my sessions and the letters from readers of my book. Initially, I battled against experts who belittled my method, but now smokers from all over the world come to my sessions, including more doctors than any other profession. It brings me joy to help smokers quit, and I feel great satisfaction knowing they've managed to escape the prison of tobacco. However, I've also felt a lot of frustration seeing some smokers quit easily and then fall back into addiction. Even though I've published another book to help these special cases, the most crucial thing to becoming a non-smoker is to not smoke. As an expert in smoking cessation, I'm concerned about the category of ex-smokers who are too afraid to try or who encounter difficulties in doing so. Fear of failure is common, but not trying is foolish. If you fail, you won't be worse off than you are now. Fear of panic and depression is also a concern, but the truth is that smoking only heightens these feelings. If you feel panic, take deep breaths or step away from stressful situations. It's important to follow the instructions and not misinterpret them. For instance, it's normal to think about smoking, but it's essential to change the way you think about it. Don't expect a magical revelation to become a non-smoker. Stop punishing yourself and enjoy life as a happy non-smoker. If you follow my instructions, you won't have to worry about feeling sad or irritable. Start thinking of yourself as a free and happy non-smoker from now on. Here are the simple instructions for quitting smoking. 1. Make the decision to never consume nicotine again and never doubt your decision. 2. Engrave it in your mind. There's nothing to sacrifice in smoking. 3. There's no such thing as a hardcore smoker. You've escaped a subtle trap. 4. Always conclude that quitting smoking is the right choice. Don't torture yourself by doubting it. 5. When you think about smoking, think, how great, I'm a non-smoker. 6. Don't use substitutes, don't keep tobacco, don't avoid other smokers, and don't change your habits. 7. Don't wait for the moment of revelation. Carry on with your life. The moment will arrive soon. If you follow these instructions, failure is impossible. Chapter 43. Help the smoker left on the sinking ship. If you're a smoker, you should know that many smokers are beginning to feel fear as society is changing its attitude toward tobacco. Even smokers themselves are realizing that smoking is an antisocial habit. If you still don't realize how absurd it is to spend money on dried leaves wrapped in paper, light them up, and inhale carcinogenic tars into your lungs, try putting a lit cigarette in your ear. What's the difference? Only that through your ear, you don't get nicotine. Smokers even lie to themselves to justify their habit, but the truth is, there's no rational reason to smoke. If you truly quit smoking, you'll be glad not to spend money to suffocate yourself. Help other smokers overcome their fears and enjoy life without the slavery of tobacco. Don't humiliate or attack them, sympathize with them. Society is beginning to view tobacco as an addiction, and smokers shouldn't feel alone in their struggle to quit. Chapter 44. Advice to non-smokers. If you have friends or family members who smoke, it's advisable to suggest they read this book. However, don't try to force them to read it or to quit smoking, as this might make them feel cornered and in need of smoking even more. Instead, show them the other side of the coin by allowing them to speak with people who have successfully quit smoking and by sharing the benefits of not smoking. If the smoker starts to believe they can quit, their mindset will open up, and you can explain the illusion created by the anxiety from nicotine withdrawal. Make sure to support the ex-smoker and praise their progress during the drug withdrawal period, avoiding pressure and helping them enjoy life in other ways. If the ex-smoker tries to use being unbearable as an excuse to justify smoking again, don't tell them to go back to smoking. Instead, congratulate them for having the courage to quit. Chapter 45. Finale. Help end this scandal. In my opinion, tobacco is the greatest shame of Western society, even worse than nuclear weapons. Communication forms the basis of our civilization, and even lower animals protect their young from potential life dangers. Despite my disagreement with nuclear weapons, I believe they're approached with the best intentions, but with tobacco, we know the hard facts. The hypocrisy is staggering. We condemn other addicts yet allow tobacco companies to advertise during primetime sports. Society permits young people to become hooked on a drug that destroys personality and kills tens of thousands of people every year. My father died from tobacco, and I believe I was on the brink of death myself. I hope this book helps change society and becomes a tidal wave of transformation. Chapter 46. Final warning. Joining the ranks of nicotine-free ex-smokers is a huge achievement. To stay this way, keep the book safe. Remember that you didn't enjoy smoking, don't doubt your decision, and don't deceive yourself into thinking about just one cigarette. Congratulations on your freedom.